Thanks a lot, everyone, for being here today. I think I will start the presentation. So it's a pleasure to be here at the Reuse and Refill Fair Trade to present you the European Reuse Barometer. And today we will unveil for the first time the results of our first edition. So first I'm going to introduce myself, and then I will present the context that led to the creation of this Reuse Barometer, then the barometer key findings, and then in the conclusion I will highlight the future of this Reuse Barometer. So my name is François Chartier-Kastler. I'm the co-founder of InOff Plastic. InOff Plastic is a consulting firm. We support food and beverage, hospitality, cosmetic, and retail companies to deplastify their activities, mostly by adopting upstream models such as reusable packaging. And I'm also the co-founder of Planet Reuse. Planet Reuse is a network that gathers professionals working on the topic of reusable packaging throughout Europe. So I will present you the theory of change behind the Reuse Barometer. So why is there a need for a Reuse Barometer? So there is an urgent need to accelerate the development and the widespread adoption of reusable packaging throughout Europe. I will not take time to detail this because I believe most of you here today already know the soundness of reusable packaging. But if you want to go deeper on that, our report specifically details the limits of single-use packaging and the advantages of reusable packaging. So who are we targeting with this goal? The European Reuse Barometer aims at supporting all of the stakeholders in their reuse transition. So that can be producers who are willing to shift to reusable packaging, solutions that aim to grow and scale, legislators that are shaping regulations around the reuse industry, investors that are looking to finance this industry, and also consumers who are willing to reduce their plastic waste generation, their packaging waste generation. So how are we going to do that? So the European Reuse Barometer collects and assesses the economic, environmental, and social indicators of reusable packaging throughout Europe. Being conducted annually, this barometer will reflect the current stage of development of this industry while tracking its growth and informing on its evolution across Europe. It will also shed light on the best practices and key challenges of this industry. And so what is the outcome? So by bringing these insights to the forefront, the barometer addresses the reusable packaging in current data gap by providing stakeholders with the resources needed to make sound decisions in bringing the reusable packaging industry forward. So the Reuse Barometer will be conducted annually, and this first edition that I will present you has initiated this data collection effort. It has also underlined the critical need for ongoing and enhanced data collection across the industry. So the Reuse Barometer has been created and led by InOff Plastic. However, it would never have reached that level of quality without the help of our partners. So I'd like to thank New Era, Zero Waste Europe, and Planet Reuse. Some of the people who have worked on it are here today. We have Fernando and Yara from New Era, and Marcel from Planet Reuse. Thanks a lot. Furthermore, we have had at heart with this barometer to support the reuse industry, but not to reinvent the wheel. That's why we have had at heart to partner with some of the best organizations working on reuse at a European scale to make sure that the work we do capitalizes as much as possible on existing tools and knowledge. In that sense, We have also had a third to partner with local organizations that are also working on reusable packaging in each European country. So these partners have enabled us to map and contact local reusable packaging. So here you have a few of them. We have many more, but within the given time frame of the barometer, they haven't had their internal authorizations for us to communicate about them. Today, I'd like to specifically thank Réseau Vrac et Réemploi, who gave us this great opportunity to present you the Reuse Barometer. So, a few words on our methodology. So, an online survey has been sent to reusable packaging solutions throughout Europe in order to collect data on their economic, environmental, and social impact. And in addition, we have also run some ad hoc interviews to grasp a bit more information on specific solutions. Here you can find some of the quantitative and qualitative data that we have collected. For example, we have asked solutions about their return rate and return time, if they have run any LCAs, the funds they have raised and they aim to raise by 2025, and also some of their key challenges and best practices. We have sent the survey to 381 solutions across Europe, and we have had the answers from 90 relevant solutions. So we are very proud of the 90 figure because it's already 25% of the solutions we contacted, and that's quite promising also for the next editions of the barometer. Here you can have an overview of some of the solutions that have answered to the survey, and being on the stage today, I would also like to thank those solutions because the barometer would never have existed without the time they have taken to answer the survey. So now I'm going to share and show you the sample composition of our survey. So the 90 respondents we have had are spread across 3 main sectors: takeaway, retail, and e-commerce. 50% of the solutions, yeah, you can see much on the slides, but I will detail them. So the graph on the left, we see that 50% of the solutions are in the takeaway sector, then followed by retail, and we have 13% of our solutions being in the e-commerce. Most of the solutions are micro, small, and medium. We only had 4% of our respondents being large companies, so more than 250. So we mostly focus on companies below 250 employees. Yeah, thanks. So concerning the geographical scope, most of the companies are from Western Europe, so this is mostly linked to InOff Plastic's knowledge of those companies in Western Europe in general. And 3/4 of the solutions operate nationally. On the graph that you cannot really see, we show on which geographical scope the companies act. So most of the companies act on regional and national level, and just only some of the solutions have been able to scale their model in different countries. So finally, our respondents, most of our respondents have been created since 2006, and 80% of them have been created since 2019. So we mostly map young solutions, and that's pretty linked also to the fact that we only have micro, medium, and small companies. So on one hand, it's quite positive because it shows that there are a number of young companies that are being created and that have been created those recent years to tackle the topic of reusable packaging. On the other hand, it also shows how important it would be for the next edition of this barometer to grasp data on more mature solutions that have been working on reuse for decades in countries such as Germany, for instance. So now let's focus on the barometer's key findings. I will present findings on 8 criteria, 8 indicators. So I will present you findings on the type of packaging used, the return models and collection systems, the financial incentives, the return rate and retention time, then on solutions profitability, and on solutions funding and recruiting needs. So let's start with the packaging type and materials. So in the takeaway sector, 68% of the solutions deal with food containers. Then we have 23% of solutions that work with cups, and a minority of solutions that work both with cups and food containers. And plastic is the most used options for all of the containers in the takeaway sector. Then in the takeaway, we have glass and metal. In the retail, 42% of the solution exclusively work with reusable glass bottles. And then it's followed by cosmetic, solutions working on cosmetic packaging and food containers. Glass is the most used material for 70% of the solutions. Then we have plastic and metal. And in the e-commerce, 78% of the solutions deal with plastic, and we have the rest of the solutions working with reusable cardboard solution. You have Rezip here as an example, who's using reusable cardboard packaging for e-commerce. Then, what's interesting is that 87% of the solutions surveyed use a return-on-the-go model. So it means that once the packaging is purchased or delivered, consumers have to bring back their packaging themselves to dedicated collection points. Then the rest of the models are return from home, where solutions themselves collect the packaging from consumers' home. And for most of the solutions in the retail and takeaway sector, the collection points are manual, so the packaging is given to a person at a dedicated counter. In the e-commerce, it's also interesting to note that half of the solutions use the national mailbox network so that consumers can directly post their packaging. 83%. Speaking about financial incentives, 83% of the solutions use financial incentives. And this number even goes up to 100% for the takeaway sector. We have differentiated 2 types of financial incentives. First, the upfront deposits. Those are the most widely set up by solutions because they are the easiest to deploy. So consumers pay a deposit when they purchase a product, and they get back the fee when they return the packaging. But there can have a pushback from consumers that don't want to pay an extra fee for the packaging. So to avoid this pushback, some solutions in the takeaway have shifted from this upfront deposit to a post-paid deposit. And so the post-paid deposit is this second type of financial incentives. It has the advantage of being completely invisible for consumers. They don't have to pay any additional amount when they purchase a product, but they get their deposit debited from their bank account if they do not bring back the packaging in the required time frame. So quite logically, solutions that use an upfront deposit tend to have low deposit amounts, so mostly from 1 to 5 euros. Is the second columns you see here. While post-paid deposits usually set up deposit amounts that are much higher, so from 1 to 5 euros, but some of the deposits can be even higher, from 11 to 20 euros. Therefore, in addition to not having consumers pay an extra fee when they purchase a product, the post-paid deposit has the advantage of enabling solutions to charge consumers a higher deposit, and they wouldn't be able to do that with an upfront deposit. So this enables solutions to cover the actual cost of high-quality reusable packaging, and they do not have to restrict themselves to purchasing packaging that are below €5, for instance. And quite logically as well, the solutions that have a higher return rate and the lowest return time are the ones that have set up a financial incentive. So on the left, the graph on the left shows the return rates. So the higher ones are on the right, and here those are the retention times, and the lowest retention times are on the left of the graph. So the dark blue color are the models using financial incentives. So those graphs shows that the highest return rates and the lowest retention time are enabled through financial incentives. Yet it's important to note that return rates aren't only driven by financial incentives, because we also have some respondents that have high return rates and low retention time without any financial incentives. And usually those are solutions that are very local and that have a very engaged consumer base. And usually they are also very close to them and they are able to interact with them easily. So in particular, postpaid schemes are the most efficient when it comes to reaching the highest return rates and lowest retention time. So it's partially explained by the fact that postpaid deposits have higher fees, but it's also interesting to note that postpaid deposit schemes enable solutions to send notifications to consumers to tell them that soon they will get debited if they don't hand back the packaging. And this has proved to be very efficient by solutions. If you go on the next slide, so we see here that we don't really see it, but I will tell it to you, that 82% of solutions have retention time of 1 month or less. And for the takeaway sector, the retention time is even lower. It's lower than 2 weeks for 96% of solutions. So to conclude on return rate and retention time, it's interesting to repeat that most of those solutions use return-on-the-go models where consumers have to do an effort to bring back the packaging. Yet, despite this effort, those high return rates and low retention time for most of the solutions indicate a promising trend towards the widespread adoption of reusable packaging, because consumers using reusable packaging are very engaged, and they follow the rules to ensure that the solutions can run smoothly. Then the next slide is about profitability. Yes, so here on the left we can see that half of the solutions are profitable and half of the solutions surveyed are not yet profitable. The takeaway and e-commerce sectors are the most emerging ones, and in those sectors we see a larger part of solutions not being yet profitable. And now speaking about funding, 70% of the solutions surveyed in the barometer have already raised funds or plan to raise funds by 2025. The average amount that has been raised is between 3 to 5 million per solution. 20% of the solutions have raised more than 10 million euros. And the 85 solutions that have answered to our funding part of the survey have already raised or plan to raise around 186 million euros. So if we extrapolate this number to the 381 solutions that we have mapped throughout Europe, this could represent a total funding need of 835 million euros. And now speaking about volumes of single-use packaging avoided, most of the solutions surveyed are relatively small, as we have seen, and they are just starting their activity. So this explains why the volumes of single-use packaging avoided per solution is currently relatively low. So it's what we see here. We are in 2024 or on the left of the graph, and this is the amount of single-use packaging which is avoided by solutions. So today it's around 2 to 8 million packaging being avoided per solution per year. And what's interesting is that these figures are aimed to increase a lot by 2025 and 2030. Across the barometer scope, the total number of single-use packaging avoided in 2022 reached 60 million items. And this figure could reach to 800 million in 2025, and 6 billion single-use packaging avoided in 2030. So the figures for 2025 and 2030 are still highly hypothetical because it's based on the estimations made by the solutions themselves. So due to the difficulty to predict the future, those figures might differ a lot from reality. But to put into perspectives, if you can go back to the previous slide, sorry. To put it into perspective, this 6.6 billion of single-use packaging avoided by 2030, we can study a German example. So the cooperative of the German mineral water companies, GDB, indicates that it's able to avoid every year 6 billion glass bottles. And this is approximately the total number that all of the solutions that answer the survey will avoid by 2030. And so the last slide on the key insights will be about the employment needs. So 37% of the surveyed solutions anticipate to hire between 1 to 5 employees by 2025, and 60% aim to employ more than 6 people by 2025. So with the 86 solutions that answered the survey, this represents a recruitment of 700 people by 2025. And if we extrapolate this number to the 381 solutions that we have mapped, this would represent 3,000 people recruited by 2025. So this is all for the key findings. And in terms of conclusion, the first edition of the Reuse Barometer sets light on those following positive insights that you cannot really read. So we have 4 insights. The first one is that the European industry is very vivid. A lot of new solutions have been launched in the past years and in the 3 sectors that we have studied. Then we have also seen that the industry is growing. Nearly all companies plan to hire new employees in the coming months and years. Then we have seen that consumers already interacting with reusable packaging solutions are very engaged. Most solutions show very high return rates, even though most of the solutions require an effort from them. And the last insight is that solutions are adapting their models to make their user experience as convenient as possible. The barometer has demonstrated that solutions are actively working to make reuse systems accessible to all, regardless of their age or of their digital appetence, making the user experience as easy as possible. And some solutions even argue that prioritizing convenience and affordability is one of the keys to make solutions compete with single-use solutions. And I will highlight some of the work that still needs to be done. So the barometer has also shown that the rest of consumers are yet to be embarked on this journey. Governments should push consumers to adopt reusable packaging, either through communication campaigns showing the positive impact of reusable packaging, or through strict regulations that restrict the use of single-use plastic packaging. There should also have ambitious legislations that force the public and private sector to prioritize prevention, reuse, and responsible resource use. And finally, to reduce transition costs impeded by the shift from single-use to reusable packaging, all of the stakeholders, that can be businesses, public organizations, NGOs, municipalities, should align forces to work together to set up shared packaging and infrastructures to maximize efficiencies and economies of scale. So those are the next steps for the Reuse Barometer. So this paper is meant to serve as a baseline and a blueprint for future editions. So based on the learning of this first edition, the next one will be strengthened by including and elaborating on those 7 following aspects. So I will just speak about the 3 first ones because they are the most important ones. So in further edition, the barometer will put stronger emphasis on solutions in Eastern and Central Europe, and aiming for a more balanced representation of all of the European countries. The second aspect is the response rate. The next barometers will ensure that there is more promotion about it, and we have a wider distribution of the survey, so that we can send it to more solutions throughout Europe. And the third step is to have a better representation of large enterprises. For now, we have only focused on small ones because they have been the ones that have answered the most. It's also easier for them because they are smaller and it's harder to reach large corporates. But it's also the fact that this barometer was a first, and it was a first edition, so it was difficult for people to also understand what it's about. But the next versions will capture the stakes and insight of well-established companies that have been running for decades in some sectors such as beverage, sold in HoReCa, and in retail, B2B transport, the automotive industry. In order to do that, we will strengthen relationships with organizations working in those industries. And the last step is the fact that if you have any remarks, additional information that you would like to see included in the next editions of the barometer, if you'd like to see your solutions integrated in this barometer, please email me or discuss with me during the fair. I'll be at Planet Reuse booth. The number is E11, E10. And if you want to receive the Reuse Barometer, you can scan the QR code. I hope it works. Does it work? Yeah, okay. Apparently it works. You can register on this page, and the barometer will be sent to you. It will be published in the coming days. Thanks a lot for your time. If you have any questions, I think we may have some time for it.